Will Sri Lanka make an early exit from the Asia Cup? This was the question that we'd asked right at the start of the day, and now we have the answer. They have made that early exit, in fact succumbing to their second straight loss. And talking about those losses, they have been massive losses for the Sri Lankan team. 2 losses, they are now out. You are watching ESPN Cricket for Matchday. I am Nikhil Naz in association with our technology partner Vivo. Okay, before I get to our 2 experts in Deep Das Gupta and Parvez Maroof, let's quickly take a look at that scorecard. Now, it's a massive defeat for Sri Lanka. As I said, 91 runs is the gap between the two teams. 249 is what Afghanistan managed in the 50 overs, and then Sri Lanka chasing that total all out for 158 in 41.2 overs. Upul Taranga, the only one getting 36 runs, and there you had for Afghanistan, the star, as we've been saying, the spinners. Rashid Khan finds his name there, picking up 2 wickets, as did the other spinners as well, picking up 2 wickets apiece. Okay, Parvez Maroof, I'll come to you now. I won't even ask you a question. I'll let you describe the performance.
Well, if you could sum it up, it's quite pathetic to see the way we lost wickets. I mean, some of the dismissals and some of the run-outs, which was not standard of international cricket, what we said. I mean, overall, we were massacred from the first ball onwards. I mean, ever since Salman lost the wicket in the second delivery, we never looked to win the game. I mean, there are a few instances where we win the game, but overall, I thought we were very poor. The last 2 games, something that we have to forget about it as soon as possible.
All right, there are 3 words, Deep, that Parvez used there: pathetic, poor, massacre. But you know, one can't help but say, especially for someone like him, and for those fans who are watching right now, not just fans from Sri Lanka, but fans of Sri Lankan cricket, to see them in this state.
Yeah, absolutely, which includes us as well, because we've spoken about how important it is for a team like Sri Lanka to bounce back and get back in the top, top teams in the world. It was disappointing because, you know, it's not just an aberration. I thought the last game was an aberration, but obviously when it happens that often, it can't be an aberration. And it was quite evident that, you know, there was no game plan. We were talking about how you need to kind of handle the spinners and rotate or whatever, must have your game plans. But it seemed like there was no game plan because, okay, when you look at, say, 2 bowlers of 10 overs each, 20 overs, you keep them aside. Let's say 20 overs, we'll go for 75 odd runs. That means you need to attack the other bowlers. But when you look at someone like Aftab, he went for 34 in 7 overs, right? And then Naib went for 29 of 8. So there was no intent or game plan, and that was disappointing.
Right. You know, also talking about taking responsibility, I'll come to you, Parvez, and you were talking about this is a time, it is a mixture of some experienced batsmen, some youngsters. The experienced batsmen really needed to come and take responsibility. Upul Taranga being one who had to do it. Angelo Matthew is the one who had to do it. If we could see a less experienced batting lineup of Afghanistan do it, then surely Sri Lanka could have to.
Before answering that question, I just want to add one more thing to what Deep just said. I mean, we spoke for the Sri Lankan Kings how important to not give away wickets to Mujibur and Rashid Khan. And what did we do? I mean, we just gifted wickets to them, and that shows the lack of plans what we had, or else there was plans, they just couldn't execute it. I mean, I remember clearly when we played and when we had consistently winning tournaments and trophies a few years back, we always had a plan to not to give wickets to the best bowlers and try and score the runs from the other end. And whereas today, I mean, it was clearly a plan. We all knew Mujibur Rahman and Rashid Khan are going to be the threats. And what we did, we just gave them easy wickets, it is quite not the international standards for me. I mean, it's quite disappointing to see. And coming back to your question, I mean, senior players, I mean, quite disappointed the way Upul Taranga and Angelo Matthews got out. I mean, especially Angelo in the end, they were building a partnership, and Tisser was batting well. And Angelo went for a stroke where, you know, he could have, better off getting Tisser to play the big stroke and Angelo to rather bat the 50 overs if possible. And whereas with Upul Taranga, same. I mean, Kusal Janit lost a wicket, and what did he do? Next over, he played a big shot and got out. So that shows, all the rhythm what we had from the South African series, which we won the last 3 games, were completely lost the way we did play the last 2 games.
Okay, I'm taking off from the point that he makes. An interesting point there, taking nothing away from those 3 spinners from Afghanistan. We saw those figures as well, outstanding, but you got to question the shots as well. They weren't unplayable, did it? The first wicket that Rashid got in is over, you're trying to sweep a ball that's later landed full up there.
Absolutely. I mean, forget it was Rashid, could be anyone else. You can't sweep a Yorker or a half volley, and that's what happened. So, and especially Upul Taranga, we spoke about Upul Taranga before during a mid-show. That's my point. I mean, you would see him getting those 30s, but not carrying on. Again, today he was out there for a while. He was out there for 64 deliveries, scored 34, but then somebody has to take responsibility, and when the team is not doing well, you expect your senior pros to take responsibility and take you through. Unfortunately, someone like Taranga, even Angelo Matthews, they need to take a lot more responsibility, because like I said, you know, I can understand when people like Jayasuriya and Dilshan, then Sangha, Mahela, they left, Murli left, Vas left. Obviously, you will take a year, 2 years and transition, but it's been a while now, and you can't be calling it transition anymore. This is what it is. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just carry forward that conversation where you left it, and probably Farvez could tell us, because he's still actively playing, what's happening in the domestic cricket. You know, as Deep mentions here, of course, you can't always get the stars that you had in Jayavardhanes, in the Jayasuriyas, in the Sangakkara. Those are once in a lifetime cricketers, but yet you need to have a supply chain of cricketers coming. What's happening?
I mean, there are quite a few cricketers coming in, but I remember we spoke with Deep and Adit in my last stint with ESPN in last season with India last year. We said the same. I mean, there are lots of cricketers coming in, but just that how competitive the cricket in first-class cricket in Sri Lanka is the issue. I mean, last year there was 24 club teams playing, and this is going to be the same. And only difference is there's a provincial setup has come in, and that's quite competitive. But most of the time, the national players don't play it. So that's been the main issue, not having the cream playing in it. And I mean, we were fortunate to have the national players playing in the SSC T20 League, which concluded last month. And I mean, overall, the first-class cricket has to improve, that's for sure. And the question of having good cricketers coming through, there are, but how they are competitive in first-class level, because the first-class level in Sri Lanka and the international cricket standards are much bigger difference than anywhere in the world.
Okay, getting a lot of comments from viewers who are watching the program, and I'm getting some viewers saying that, you know, you got to realize that Chandimal was also missing. I mean, I know that there are people who have good interest of Sri Lankan cricket in mind, but this again would be, you know, looking at an excuse. Could one player have really made that difference?
Well, Chandimal obviously is a very important cog in that wheel. Gunatilaki again is a good cricketer who's missing. But having said that, this has been the trend in the last few years. Yes, you can say Chandimal, Gunatilaka, both of them are missing and all that. Akhila again came back today and he made a difference with the ball. But then you can't, for example, you can't be depending on one or two players. It's a team sport and you have others. It's not that the others who've played, they are not good cricketers. And as Farvez mentioned, they're all good cricketers. They have the basics in them. So you can see that even if they play 10 deliveries, you see they have that basic in them. It's just that whether they are competitive enough or not, do they have that temperament to play big games or not? I mean, that's the key, and that's where domestic cricket is so important.
Okay, because Sri Lanka have had these two crushing defeats, I can only look at things that are wrong with their cricket, and one of those things that stands out right now is the fielding. Farvez, I come to you. You know, fielding there, the two stars, Rehmat there, who got runs for Afghanistan, he was dropped. The opening partner with him was dropped as well. I mean, for the longest time, I think Sri Lanka were by far the best fielding team in Asia. Those standards clearly have dropped. They've dropped not just in this game, in the previous game as well. We saw it.
Najib, I would say last 2 years we've been having this issue. I mean, lots of drop catches, lots of crucial mistakes have cost us a lot of games. I mean, it's not a problem which we had for 6 months or 1 year. As far as I can remember, it's almost 2 years. It's not about, it's feeling is all about attitude. I mean, you just want the delivery, but the ball to come to you always. I mean, those are the little basics. But I saw from the last 2 games, I mean, I don't know whether the heat factor got to them or I don't know what, but still I didn't see that enthusiasm in the field. I mean, not only this series, even the last series we dropped some catches, and it's been an ongoing problem for the last 2 years.
Okay, 2 words that you used to describe fielding: attitude, enthusiasm. Does it also really depend? I mean, you're predominantly there as a batsman or a bowler. When those things are not working, everything else doesn't fall.
You know, for me, fielding in the sport of cricket, predominantly fielding is the only thing that you do as a team. If you look at a practice session, you bat in the nets, you bowl in the nets alone, you bat in the nets alone. Fielding is the only thing which you do as a team more often than not. And if your fielding is not well, that just gives me a sign. It's just, I would like to ask a question whether everything's all right or not. What she said about temperament, which is absolutely spot on. Attitude. Listen, as a batsman, I can only go as much as my talent will permit me. It is bowling as well, like that. But in fielding, it's not like that. Fielding, you can improve as much as you can. That's one thing. The other thing is run out. I mean, you can curtail these things. These are 1%ers, dropping catches, missed fields, run out. I mean, how do you justify 2 run outs in the top 6 in the batting? I mean, your top 6 batsmen, out of which 2 of them are run outs. I mean, chances are you will lose more often than you win.
Okay, you raised a question. Let's throw that to Parvez. Is everything all right? Is what Deep asked. I know you're sitting on the periphery, but is everything all right in the team? Because as you say, fielding is the reflection of how the team is feeling with it.
I mean, it's just the individual's attitude as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the fielding is all about having your own pride. I mean, not giving, at the end of the day, you come out of the field, you should know how many runs you have saved and how many runs you have given, and you will work hard for the next game. That's how we do it. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned with the team, there's no much issue. I mean, everything is going smoothly. We have a new coaching system. Everything is very consistent. But just that once they cross the field, that's where the experience, the temperament, everything comes. And I feel lack of confidence in match situation. Maybe so many different reasons, which is lacking, and that costing not only their feeling, but the individual performance in batting and bowling as well.
Okay, we're dissecting Sri Lanka's performance because all of us are well-wishers of Sri Lankan cricket. As you mentioned, it's always good to have a good competitive Sri Lankan side. But now I'll talk about Afghanistan as well. The basic question right now is, yes, Afghanistan has won. They've won a convincing match there. But can you call it an upset?
No, I wouldn't call it an upset.
Okay.
I wouldn't call that an upset. And I told you when we did the preview as well, I think at this point in time, I think Afghanistan, and especially in these conditions, are a better side than Sri Lanka. Okay.
Parvez, I know you may be upset, but would you call this an upset?
I mean, if I'm being really honest to myself, I mean, when we lost the Bangladesh game 2 days before, I always had the 50% doubt in my heart. I got to be very honest here.
Okay.
And, in these conditions, under pressure, the bowling attack, what Afghanistan have, the threat. And as soon as they scored 249, I sensed trouble. And we just couldn't help, we help ourselves by gifting away wickets, I should say, without having a batting plan.
Okay, let's talk about Sri Lankan cricket on the whole. After January, I think, Parvez, when they won the Tri-Series, after that, they've not been doing well in one-day cricket, losing everywhere. However, in other formats, I mean, I remember doing that Test series versus South Africa, did really well. So should we look at Sri Lankan cricket not as a whole, but just one-day cricket? So it's essentially one-day cricket, which is their weaker format, and rest everything seems to be falling into place. Would that be correct?
Yeah, one-day cricket has been our weakest format for a long time now. I don't think we haven't got the right personnel still. I mean, we are still pondering whom should bat at what positions and combinations. I mean, one-day format has been not our strength for a long time. I mean, Test cricket, we are fine. We've been doing well, especially at home. I mean, with Sanganeira still going strong. I think we are okay at the moment. And even T20s, we've been quite consistently doing well. But when it comes to one-day cricket, I mean, there are so many fine lines to be fine-tuned. I thought, I mean, especially the batting order, the personals batting at different positions. I mean, some of the things I don't agree. I mean, it's my opinion, but I feel just that, to going to the important like a World Cup, we got 4 tours coming up, which is going to be Sri Lanka, England in Sri Lanka, and we go to Australia, we go to New Zealand, we go to South Africa. So we got to have a solid pace and, give the guys the opportunity to go out there and showcase their the talent and the execution.
Okay, let's celebrate Afghan cricket as well. Absolutely. Spinners, we've talked about.
Before we go, I just wanted to add, I think they have a very good coach as well. Hathura Singh, I've seen him do a really good job with the Bangladesh cricket, how he's brought them up. I think they have the basics in them. I think, it's just a matter of time. Hopefully, Sri Lanka will come back. Yeah.
Okay, address just that weak format that they have in ODI cricket. They're doing pretty well in other formats for the moment. Now, let's celebrate Afghanistan cricket at the moment. The spinners, the way they perform doesn't come as a surprise. Let's talk about their batting. We were saying that's the weak link. Then you've got Rahmat there, the way he's performed. Did he impress you today?
Oh yeah, absolutely he did. Impressed me in the sense how he I've seen him play, whenever I've seen him play, he's looked good, but he hasn't really gone on to get a big one like he did today, and a big game like this. So very, very impressed, because what he showed me, I knew that he has the talent, he has a basic in terms of technique and everything else, but today it was good to see that he has also the temperament to play a longish innings, and the way he kind of constructed the innings. I mentioned about rotation of strike. Out of those 72 runs, only 20 came by the way of boundaries, so it was predominantly singles and doubles, good running, good rotation of strike, and that's the reason you still have a strike rate of 80.
Okay, also looking at matches going ahead and the way, because this was the first match that was played in Abu Dhabi. Parvez, I come to you. We were talking about we wouldn't know how the second innings would perform, but did you notice the ball doing a little bit more in the second innings vis-a-vis the first inning? This is going to be crucial for matches that are going to come up there.
Most definitely so. I mean, what you spoke about, the grass which was left in the wicket definitely played a part in the first 6 overs of the 8 overs. It was seaming, it was swinging. But saying that, there was not much demons in it. I mean, they were feeling helpful, and still the ball was skidding on nicely. I mean, even Mujibur Rahman and Rashid Khan, they took wickets with the ball skidding on rather than turning the ball. So, I mean, with the new ball, definitely there was a difference. And there was two different conditions when it comes to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So, the teams who head up quicker will go a long way in this series.
Okay, now we've seen all the three teams in this particular group, and this match you said is not going to be an upset. I'm going to ask you, who's now the favorite in this group? Who's looking at the strongest team? You've seen Bangladesh play, you've seen Afghanistan.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I don't know, Bangladesh is an exciting team because of the talent that they have. But when I look at Afghanistan, it's the meteoric rise that they've had in the last year and a half, and it seems that rise is not stopping anytime soon. They haven't hit a plateau, and I hope they don't, because I mean, every game that they play, it's a new high, and like I said, it's such an exciting team. So again, I'm going to keep Afghanistan a little ahead of Bangladesh here.
Okay, let's now quickly turn our attention to the game coming up. That will be game number 4 in the Asia Cup, and for the first time we're going to see India participating in the tournament. India are playing Hong Kong. Remember, Hong Kong lost their first match versus Pakistan quite convincingly. This of course will be a do or die game for Hong Kong if they want to remain in the tournament. Of course, odds are stacked against them. Okay, what would be tougher for India, Hong Kong or the heat of the Middle East?
Oh, well, it seems like heat as of now. But having said that, again, you can't take anything lightly, and especially you're playing this format after a while. Quite a few of them have come, a week ago from England. They need to kind of settle down, get into the white ball groove. Obviously, a lot of them are joining in, the white ball specialists like Rohit himself, and so Rohit's going to lead the side. So I think there are quite a few things that you need to get back into groove, and I think the first game against Hong Kong would be a perfect game for everything to get back into groove, and everyone knowing what their position, what their role is in the team and all that. So I think from that perspective, it's a very, very important game for India.
Okay, Parvez, you're a new age cricketer, plenty being spoken about. How would those cricketers that were just playing test cricket in England, different conditions, how will they cope up so suddenly when they get to the Middle East? Is it really tough for the current age cricketer who plays cricket like almost 250 days a year?
More than getting used to the white ball, I think getting used to the conditions of Dubai, so the heat will be a tough one for the people who came from all the way from UK. But saying that, Indians have a very good side. I mean, I know that Virat is not playing, but still, the entire batting lineup and the bowling team, what they got, they should be, right up there. And I mean, it's good that they play Hong Kong first before they play Pakistan, so that they know the conditions that they'll get used to the Dubai stadium, and the crunch game against India-Pakistan will be massive, and it's good that they play Hong Kong first of all, then playing Pakistan.
Okay, finally, we're not going to get into the playing 11. We have plenty to talk about on the day of the match, but quickly, would you want the Indian team to almost play a second string side? I say that not because you're taking Hong Kong lightly, but because you have back-to-back matches.
No, I would go with the best possible playing 11. But it's like, you just did Asian Games. It would be like something like 100 meters where you've got your semi-finals. So you try and win your semi-finals, but you're not going to give your 100% because, as you mentioned, the heat takes a lot out. I mean, we saw Mushfiqur didn't take the field after that 100. Today, Rahmat Shah was struggling after that innings. So obviously the heat will play its part. So it's very important that, you give what you can, what you need, but also keep something in reserve for the game after that.
The only difference there, 100 meter would last for 10 seconds. These guys have to be on the ground for almost 100 overs. Would you still?
So let's say 1500. Let's say 1500.
No, but they give a day's gap. My point is, I mean, they're not used to playing back-to-back 50-over matches.
That is true. So it's a tricky situation, and both the games are in Dubai. So Abu Dhabi is a little colder and all that stuff. But because it's in Dubai, which is hotter, so they've got to be a little. I mean, it's going to be tricky, but they've got to be be a little careful there.
Okay, so play the best team is what Deep is saying, irrespective of the opposition, irrespective of the fact whether you've got back-to-back matches or not. Parvez Maroof, Deep Dasgupta, thanks so much for joining us. That's all that we have for you on ESPN Cricket Info Matchday, brought to you by technology partner Vivo. Thanks so much for watching.